Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe.
I think the way it works is the head coach of any team says, hey, this is the vision for this game, and then people carry it out. And when it doesn't get carried out, my job, A, is to get on the coaches, but then B, take ownership of it. Like, we completely failed. And again, we failed 7-6 at halftime, and everyone's walking in the locker room disappointed. I'm so tired of that. It's like stop, with just the entitlement of that. It just drives me nuts. Like, every team is going to be ready to play us. Like they were chanting overrated at the end of the game. Why? Because you've earned yourself into being 5-1 and being in the top 25. They wanted to play you. So, like, I'm just tired of that entitlement of like, oh, this will be easy. Oh, this will be easy. Oh, these guys don't, who are we? You know what I'm saying? We're just and so we're way better when we're like chip on our shoulder, gritty, tough. So, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm not blaming. I don't want to come here and blame people. I want my team to know that, like, we all have to be better this week. It wasn't nearly good enough.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gaspers, and I'm with Abby.
Hi, guys. We all do need to be better, and that starts with us right here on the podcast. We are failing so far without our leader, Honky, so prepare for chaos.
That's good cover right there, Abby. Nice work. See, that's the start right there, is admitting to your faults and failures. So that's good. Someone's used to that is Redcast Rob.
Welcome to the Go. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to get the intro right because Abby royally screwed that one up. Love you, Abby.
She meant well, Rob.
I still can't get that intro song down. Someone once told me that they thought it was just Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin slowed down, but apparently it's actually an original riff by producer Skip's brother. So,
correct.
Yeah. I mean,
cool. Who is a Zeppelin fan?
He is a Zeppelin fan.
He'll
so
admit to that.
There's an influence there, and we may have had a few beers when he told me that he wrote it himself. So,
well, someone who could author a novel if he wanted to, Boomer.
Yeah, to be so unlike Zeppelin to steal somebody else's music, so they really can't say anything about it. But no, good to be here tonight. Honky can't be with us. I tried to tell him last week how important the Minnesota Week podcast was, but I just don't think he was taking it seriously. I tried to tell him about it, and he thought we were just too busy crowning Minnesota. So yeah, he's not here tonight, but I'm sure he'll be with us next week and pick up the pieces from there. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to be able to put it back together and come out on Saturday morning against the Wildcats and play better, to Matt Rule's point. But before we dive into football, I think, Abby, we've got some good news from volleyball, basketball, and elsewhere. So let's start there.
We do, yeah. Like, why start with the negatives when we can start with a little courtside cooking? Let's see if I can get this to work. It does. Awesome. Okay. So again, technical difficulty. You know what, Rob? At least I'm doing it. That's all I'm going to say. We're not professionals. We don't get paid for this. Yeah. So the update on volleyball, right, is that we swept Michigan. We currently have no set losses in the conference, which is insane. But I think perhaps more interesting and more worth talking about are the two pieces of things that have come out, which is our first round of NCAA seeding, which has Nebraska as the number 1 overall seed. If the tournament were to start, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Like, if the tournament were to start today, Nebraska would be the number 1 overall seed, which is great. As an undefeated team, you expect that. It's I think some people were a little surprised. Texas currently has a higher RPI, meaning their strength of schedule is a little bit higher than ours. at the moment, but anticipate that as long as we keep winning to start to switch, and ours should end up a little bit higher based on our the rest of our schedule. But then this other tweet, which I really liked from Evolve, which does really good data for volleyball, it puts this out for every conference of updated projections for the conference of who is going to win. And you can see at the top, there's nobody else around us. Nebraska is projected to win with a 99% probability of winning. It's a 57% chance of going undefeated in the conference, which is, again, unheard of in any conference, in any volleyball. It's really difficult to do. Currently 8-0, projected is 19-1. Don't know who that one loss would be to. We can discuss that if anybody wants to, but the way the Big Ten looks in volleyball, it's I don't know who beats us at this point. I don't know. Are there thoughts?
Well,
right there.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, sometimes it makes you wonder too. For as good as Nebraska and apparently Texas are this year, maybe the rest of the country isn't bad. We're just that much better. Because I've watched some matches with a lot of other schools, right? Like that's the one thing. It's almost, I don't want to call Husker volleyball boring because it is never boring. But I also feel like I'm not getting my full fix because everything is 3 sets and done, right? So it's like, oh, well, there goes an hour and a half of my time. And, you know, so I have been following quite a bit of the Big Ten matches when I can. Been trying to just follow whatever volleyball I can when it's available. And, you know, there's a lot of really good schools, a lot of really talented players out there. It's just that the rotations for this Husker team, like sometimes you don't even realize that they subbed somebody out because the player coming in for the player that's subbed out is so good that there's no fall off in talent whatsoever, right? So it's like you don't even really notice that there's somebody new on the court. And then and then at one point you're just kind of like, wow, I haven't heard Andy Jackson's name in a while. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know, she comes in and has 2 kills. And then next thing you know, like she's not on the court again. And you're like, okay, this is just ridiculous how good we are. You know, it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparison to it. And I don't know if I can. Like they're, you know, maybe like the 73-7 or whatever it was, or 73-8 or 9 Warriors for a while there. I don't know. Like what do you compare it like that?
Dying to sit mention something about the Raiders, probably, right?
No, because there's no Raiders team that's ever been that good. No, absolutely not. Right? I mean, come on, we're just fooling ourselves here, Dave. I have not mentioned that name in a really long time. In fact, you may have mentioned it before me in the last, I don't know, all season.
I'm just having fun with you, Rob.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, can anyone think of a team that was that good? I mean, maybe our 95 football team. I don't know. Like, you know, I mean, that's about that's about the last time, and it's fun. You know what I mean? But it's like it's kind of like, okay, like what's next? Like, can we just move on to the actual?
So Abby, they dropped a set against 2.
Nobody in the Big Ten yet.
Yeah, but there was a non-conference. Was it Louisville?
Creighton.
We dropped a set to Pitt, Creighton, Kentucky. Is it Arizona State? There's been a couple that we've dropped a set to.
Non-conference.
But they haven't dropped a set since September or some crazy thing like that. Like beginning of September.
We're on like 28 straight or something stupid like that.
Yeah. So do you think we've gotten
that
much better from non-conference to conference, or is the conference down this year?
I think both of those things are true. I think I think we have just gotten that much better, and I think we are that much better. Like that feels really weird to say, doesn't it? But I also think that the conference in general, the Big Ten, is having a bit of a down year. I think there are still really good teams, like to Rob's point. I don't think the Big Ten is a bad conference by any stretch, but there's just nobody that's even close. Like usually Wisconsin's right up there, and Wisconsin's doing really well. They've only lost 2 games, right? Texas and Penn State somehow. So they're still doing really well, but you know, everybody in the Big Ten has been like plagued with injuries. which might be part of it. But yeah, in general, I think the play is below expectations for the Big Ten. So still a pretty good conference, still have 8 teams ranked right now. So still doing pretty well, but it's just not quite up to the standard that the Big Ten has been in the past. Adding on, I think these girls just get better and better every game. It just seems like they keep doing something incredibly stupidly wonderful. When you had Harper Murray go 3 games without an error, that doesn't happen. Like, and even then she only had like 2 against Michigan. I mean, that's just stupid. So I think both things are true.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. I just thought I'd dig a little deeper there. Yeah. Well, that is good news for certain.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to look forward to, right? So that's great.
That is good news. See, we can start our week off with good things.
And really, just one thing that amazes me about volleyball, especially
Anybody
in comparison
else?
to the
I don't
football
know.
team. What I just impressed with them is that they're able to stay focused on all of these games when they're clearly better than a lot of these teams. That they don't seem to slip up and overlook an opponent, or the coaching staff just doesn't, look past an opponent or whatever it is. They don't get it in their heads that this is going to be easy. It won't be a fight. So that they've been able to maintain that kind of focus all season, really, because it'd be pretty easy to take a set or 2 off and figure you're going to come back or just overlook somebody, and they haven't seemed to do that at all this year. So it speaks highly to everybody involved in that program.
Think you could take a quarter or 2 off and get away with it in football, but you can't.
Well, it's funny
can't,
too.
Yeah.
I listen to the radio broadcast a lot too, which sounds weird for volleyball, I know, but sometimes like I'll have stuff to do, so I'll listen to the radio broadcast, which is really good. And even this year, they sound like they're just like, oh, well, there's another streak that they have going on here, and Harper Murray with her 9,622nd kill this week. Maybe she'll be player of the week this week. I mean, like, it's almost like they're looking for things to talk about because it's almost like when a team is losing so bad, you don't know what to say. It's like they're winning so much that it's hard to find more positive things to say about it, which is super annoying because I wish we could do that for another sport that we also talk about here later.
Well, that's a really good, Rob, that's a great segue into another sport that I think we're going to be able to do that for this year. And yeah, why not with a little Nebrasketball?
Oh, boy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're expanding the tournament just
the
for
idea
us.
with this. They're off to a pretty good start. So the name of this episode, right, is like, who is this team? And we'll get to, we know in volleyball, it's a pretty dominant, I think is the definition of that team, balanced, dominant. This is from Media Days, where Fred was talking a little bit about what he wants his team identity to be. And then we can talk about if we saw that in that BYU exhibition game for those of us who watched it.
What do you want your team's identity to be?
Maybe. No.
What do you want your team's identity to be this season?
Yeah, I'd love it to be toughness. I want to see this team every time they step on the floor, to be a team. And they've all talked about it when we have our goal meetings and our cultural meetings. Winning the 50-50 game, and being gritty, being tough. We can't be a team that just wins when the ball goes in the hoop. We've addressed a lot of things from our shooting, but it doesn't matter. You got the best shooting team in the world, and certain nights it's not going to go in the basket. But you want a team that's going to show up every day and go toe to toe with their opponent. And I've seen a competitive element, but that is something we're going to have to do because we're not the most athletic, we're not the biggest. But I do think we've got character guys that are going to go out there and be about the right things. So, from an unselfish standpoint, a toughness standpoint, I like the makeup of our guys, but we're going to have to do that if we want to have success this year.
Can you talk quickly? So that's what Hoiberg wants his team to be identified as. Sounds good, right?
Sounds good.
For those of you who watched the BYU exhibition game, yeah, always sounds nice. But I don't know how many of you guys watched it. Did you see that? Was that, I know it's just one game and it's just exhibition, but What are we thinking on that?
Dave, did you watch the exhibition game? Because usually you're pretty dialed in on the basketball too. So
I'm a little busy working on some things here in Denver, so I was not able to watch that. I'm sorry, Ron.
No, that's all right. I felt like their shooting. I mean, for their field goal percentage for BYU, they held them under 50% shooting. They held them to 45%. Their 3-point shooting was a little bit better, but BYU is a good 3-point shooting school in general, like historically. But we played some really good defense. I felt like in that game, 3-point shooting, we were 45%, which is, very much something that you want to see from this team. Our overall field goal percentage was 44%. So maybe not something completely, it was not something completely you want to see, but yeah, I mean, 47% from 3, 50% overall in the game for, shooting, but our free throw percentage was only 67%. So, I mean, it's an exhibition game. We beat the number, what are they ranked? Number 12 team in the nation or something
8.
like that right now. Number
8,
8.
I think. They were top
8.
12.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool. I hope they can sustain that kind of success through the entire season. But a Big Ten season is a lot harder than a lot of people realize, especially winning on the road. So,
yeah. And I'd have to say I was at least, relieved that they were able to get about 45% from 3. Consider they started pretty slow. I think they were about 3 from 11 for 3 to start that game. So, exhibition game, you're not going to rust off. So that's to be expected. But they did seem to pick it up. And, just having Mast back is going to make such a difference to the team. Just him being able to score from the outside is going to open up a lot for other players to have an opportunity to try to get some baskets somewhere. So that's definitely a positive. They're going to have to try to find, ways to get rebounds and have a good inside game. So that'll remain to be seen how that works out and who's going to be the main ball handler and all that. I'll be curious to watch that. But we've got, another exhibition game or two. And then I think we open against, is it West Georgia, which might be a high school, might be a team. I don't know. It could be
Georgia
a state.
West High School. I think you're right.
Some random state that seceded from Georgia and nobody noticed in the Civil War. I don't know, but
like West Florida. You're like,
yeah, exactly. Or some colony from the 1700s we forgot about. I don't know.
So some of the things though you could take away from that game too, though, that I think is kind of important. Again, even though it's an exhibition, so there is that little asterisk next to it. In the first half, we were down by 10. And they were able to not only overcome that, but in the second half, they actually led by as much as 13, right? And that's with 15 turnovers compared to BYU's 8. So they were able to not only, get the lead in the second half, maintain it, and end up winning, but also, overcome a pretty large turnover margin, against them at that point, Something else interesting about the game, they had 32 points in the paint, which, that's a big deal because if you can score, Bayuktin Gel is already, as the jokes on the radios this week has been that, he's already making his run for Big Ten Player of the Year. So, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it was fun to see the guys out there playing and the team actually out there and seeing some of our guys like Rink Mass, like actually get back and play 28 and a half minutes too. I mean, that's a big deal, right? He missed most of last season, if I recall. I can't remember. All of it. Yeah. I was going to say, cause I can't remember when he got hurt. So, that's a big deal right there. Speaks to our training table as well, to say the least, best facilities in the country. So, I mean, I don't know. It's exciting. I mean, it's basketball season. I think the season starts this weekend, doesn't it? We play like that's sorry, I'm looking at a schedule and for some reason it's showing me it was showing me the tennis schedule and I clicked on.
A bit off. Yeah. We have one more exhibition against Midland here on the 27th, and then
there we go.
We open with West Georgia coming to the town on November 3rd. So.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not mad that we're not having a super tough schedule to start the season either, because this is always a team that needs to get some wins under a belt to get the confidence, right? I mean, I think Fred knows what he's doing in regards to that, because we start out with West Georgia, FIU, and Maryland Eastern Shore, which again, I'm not sure if
From
they
West
are a
Carolina,
high school or, as Boomer said, or a junior college. But then we play Oklahoma, New Mexico, and then we play either Kansas State or Mississippi State. It's like one of our, roster depth charts or something for football. It's a either or. We play either or Mississippi State or Kansas State. So, and then there's some pretty good teams on the schedule with Winthrop, who is they make the tournament quite a bit out of their conference.
Yeah,
You
sure,
know what?
right?
You know what? You laugh, Dave, but then that's a game like watch we'd lose it. So
I'm worried about Baltimore Eastern Shore. I mean,
I would.
We've
be
lost
too.
to those guys before.
That's a trap.
Boomer, are they like the Golden Retrievers or something like that?
No, they're the Hawks. Who were the Golden Retrievers? It was another one of those Maryland ones. They're the ones that upset Virginia the one year, wasn't it? The Golden Retrievers, the Retrievers.
Maybe it was
whatever
Western Shore.
Yeah, it might have been Western Shore. Yeah, there's different shores there. So, and don't forget, we also have South Carolina.
Montclair
upstate,
State University has is a Golden Retriever, or Augustana University as well has a Golden Retriever. So I don't know. There's a few of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is going sideways really quick.
Yes.
But,
Yeah. I don't know.
Point is that it's great to get basketball rolling. Another thing to talk about, a new team to discover, I guess. Right. We're really going to find out what this team has ahead of it. And to your point, Rob, it's going to start a little slow with some winnable games, but we'll be in the thick of it before you know it. So.
Also, I found it. It's the UMBC Retrievers.
There you go. University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
On a very similar note, Dave, is our women's team is going to look a little bit different this year as well, without like Alexis Markowski and some of our really big defending, or like Sam Hoibergs, right? The players who just come on to be
hustle,
pesky, essentially on defense. And that was another thing I asked Amy about at media days, and this was her response about what the team looks like without those, especially without Alexis.
How does the complexion of the offense change this year when you don't have Alexis down the post to go to as consistently as the past 4 years?
I mean, the great news is that we still feel like we have some really capable forwards that have really started to kind of peak. Just Petrie and Hydra came on really strong last year towards the second half of our season, and bringing in some transfers that we feel like also can help in those areas. But there's no doubt that we have added and tweaked some of the things that we're going to try to do within the program to really play to our strengths and it may look a little bit better.
Yeah. It's going to be an exciting season. I mean, Britt Prince coming back sophomore season, I mean, she's
and two. Yep. Natalie Potts will come back from her injury. And to Amy's point, I mean, they had a very secret scrimmage apparently against Missouri. When was that? On the same day, maybe, as the men's? I can't really remember. And that tweet's a little hard to see. This is from Pavelka's fat uncle, who is just, so great for for basketball. But they dropped 103 points. They scored 103 points in their secret scrimmage game against Missouri. Now, what that means, right? Same as like the kind of that game with BYU. You can't read too much into it. But we had 4 players in double-digit points, including one of our new players at Johnson. But then, everybody on the team scored who played. And I think that that's really impressive to see from a team that was really reliant on one player. I don't want to say overly reliant, but Alexis was our rock, right, on that team, especially scoring. So I just even thought that tweet was really great to see that the new offense seems to be kind of gelling. All these new players that we brought in seem to be gelling. And there's a rumor that one player we brought in is able to dunk a basketball. I'm going to text with Amy and see if we'll ever get her. We can ever get a video of her trying to do it, which would be, I think, pretty cool to see. Maybe against Iowa, she'll just who knows?
One of the things I like about this team, though, is that they're a really good mixture of youth and experience. Right? They've got 4 seniors, 3 juniors, but then I think they have like 5 sophomores on the team and 1 redshirt freshman, and then like a true freshman. Right, all on the team this year, and I don't know how much playing time, but it's nice to see, Britt playing her, as a true freshman last year, the amount of playing time, her coming in, and then as you said, Natalie coming back off an injury as a redshirt sophomore, but there's a lot of really good older players in there that seem like to get the experience in on this, because we were a team last year that was close. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of games where we were close, and I felt like they were maybe a little bit better than their record. And this year I feel like maybe, with Potts back, that maybe we'll see what they're truly capable of.
Yeah. And I just like the idea of a secret scrimmage. Like there's some, clandestine basketball court hidden under Memorial Hall, and you have to pull on Archie's tusk to open the door to hide you down there. So and
I don't know why it had to be secret.
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
I don't know.
The novelty, really gets it. So,
I mean, can they not have similar exhibition games like Nebraska versus BYU and men?
They will. No, they will. They have an exhibition game, I believe. I don't have the schedule up. Rob, do you have it?
I do. They play Mount Marty this Friday. Is that the 24th?
I think that's their exhibition.
So, they play Mount Marty exhibition, and then they get the game after that is against November 3rd. It's against Northwestern State, also at Pinnacle Bank Arena. That's the night also of the Sizemore Sportsmanship Pep Rally for all of you Husker fans out there. So make sure to get out there. I'm sure that'll be a good time. Yeah, and then they jump into Sanford. They play Creighton on November 12th. And then, they start getting into their schedule. North Dakota State, Oral Roberts, Purdue University, Fort Wayne.
Yep.
So, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the Emerald Coast Classic, So, they start their Big Ten schedule in December sometime. So we've got a bunch of games leading up into that, and you kind of build up in there, and there's nothing too daunting so far on their schedule moving in there. Maybe that game against Creighton. I don't know how good the Creighton women are, so I never really pay that much attention to Creighton women's basketball. But other than that, hopefully, like I said, they start to gel as a team. They get some wins under their belt, move into the Big Ten schedule, and kick some ass.
Absolutely.
This could be their
year.
Right.
All right. So we've tackled volleyball.
Well, speaking of tackling,
and failing to do
great
so.
segue, Dave.
That was really well done, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's put on our scarlet colored glasses.
Yeah. So time for some scarlet colored glasses. I do have one video for this that maybe can. I don't know that it'll elicit a discussion that we aren't already prepared for, but
I worked for Tom Coughlin, and he would always say, humble enough to prepare, confident enough to perform. And, then you listen to Coach Saban. He always talks about something like workhorses or show ponies, right? Like you have to work and work and work and work as if you have no chance to win the game, and then you have to play as if you have no chance to lose the game. But you can't, so we worked, but you can't expect it to be easy. You just have to believe that, hey, if I play as hard as I can for 60 minutes, then good things will happen. Along part of that, though, in my opinion, is when you get punched in the face, you either cower back or you come out swinging. And I'm not saying we cowered back, but we certainly didn't swing. And you start seeing lots of guys walk off the field like something's happening to them. No, it's not happening to you. You're not playing good enough, and so go play better. I'm not coaching good enough. So, I didn't throw a fit. I didn't yell at them after the game. I didn't do all that because I own the fact that I didn't coach good enough. But you know what? I'm going to coach good enough. I'm making it very clear, I think, right now to our team and to our coaches what's expected this coming Saturday. And if Northwestern is just way better than us, then so be it, right? So be it. But if fans spend their money this week to show up and watch a team diving on the ground to make tackles and guys getting pushed back into the quarterback and just like, then I'd boo us. So we better show up. Help me say that we will show up.
Coach just told us to
I
boo.
love it. I was playing that for Dustin earlier. And he laughed at the boo comment, but it's like, I love it. I think I said this like when it came out, or whatever, that Monday, where I was like, I like mad Matt Rule. Like, I like angry, upset. And I don't like that he is, but like, right, I don't like the circumstances, but I like that he's like, this is not okay. This is unacceptable. This is embarrassing. This is not like, it feels good. It feels, and this is maybe reading into it, this is maybe whatever you want. It feels like he believes it.
Well, at least he didn't say, well, we've had some really good practices. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have to hear about great practice again. You know what I mean? That's a relief right there. I would call that growth. And it's interesting too. I listened to that press conference twice because I listened to it once so that I could roll my eyes at everything he said. And then I gathered myself and I went back and listened to it so I could read between the lines. And he said some pretty interesting things if you read between the lines that, a lot of people were saying like, oh, he wasn't holding himself accountable. Well, that's part of my language, but that's bullshit. He definitely held himself accountable. But, there's nothing wrong with a good leader not only holding themselves accountable, but holding others accountable as well, right? Because you need to make sure that everybody else knows their lane and stays in it, right? But he did throw a lot of wheeze in there instead of like throwing other people under the bus. And I'll give you a good example of something I caught there. Didn't write it down. This is off of memory, so it's not a quote. But he did say at one point, we need to step up into the pocket better. We need to get the ball out quicker. Maybe he's talking about like a game plan from our offensive coordinator and basically saying like, you need to call plays that are, more in tune with this strategy. And I think he was definitely calling out Dylan right there, not without using his name, by saying like, dude, half those sacks are on you. Like, get it together, and Honky even said it in our group chat. He was saying stuff like, drives me crazy that, those sacks are on him. He tries to roll out and make a play that he can't make, that he's not, that maybe he's capable of making if nobody else is on the field. But, when you're rolling into like 280-pound D linemen, 300-pound D linemen, and, you try to roll outside, but instead you're bumping into him, like, you're basically sacking yourself at that point. You need to stay in the pocket, step up in the pocket, and find the open guy. Because on some of those sacks, if you go back and watch the video on that, there are guys that right before he gets sacked, you can see a guy get open across the field, and then he's basically falling down at that point because he tried to like make some crazy like Mahomes like play rolling out of it into, and then instead he ends up getting sacked. And I say that Mahomes like play because I'm thinking of that one where he's falling to the ground and he just kind of throws the ball into the air and it barely gets caught by our guy instead of being picked off and probably run back for 6, right? I mean, like, those are plays he didn't need to make because he basically, was trying to overdo it, instead of like finding the open receiver right there in front of him. I mean, I watched the game. I painfully rewatched the game like 3 times on the Big 10 and 60, and there's just a few of those situations where if he had stepped up and stepped out, he probably could have saved himself there.
So Boomer, are you absconding the offensive line play entirely with this? Sounds like Rob is saying it was all on Dylan.
I'm not saying it was all on Dylan. I'm saying like half of those were on Dylan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can't overlook the offensive line play on that. I mean, there were clear, errors that the offensive line made during that game if you watched it. Some of that is, we did have injuries, and you lose, Rocco to a hand injury. I never even noticed he left the game until they said afterwards he went to the hospital. What? I completely didn't even notice he left. And then you have, Pritchett make I've never seen an offensive tackle get thrown out for targeting before, but I guess, by the rules he did. So, that was kind of a 1-2 punch.
I have to tell you,
offensive. Yeah, when your 2 big O-line transfers are out of the game for different reasons, that's tough. And we really don't have the depth to make up for that. I mean, so that was a big issue. I mean, you saw multiple plays in the games. I don't want to call anyone out where they would, just completely block the wrong guy, or they would double team another guy, letting the linebacker come flying in untouched, or vice versa. They double team the linebacker and wouldn't roll off on the D tackle that's crashing down on there. And some of that does get to a quarterback too. I mean, this wasn't the only game he's been sacked many times, so all that kind of starts adding up. And I think quarterbacks get antsy. They can't help that. Especially when you're getting sacked.
Yep.
5, 6, 7 times a game, in some of these games, whether it's your fault or the line's fault, or a combination of all of that, and just a combination of the offensive game plan that we called. And that's the biggest thing. The mystery to me is just how bad the offense was in that game. I went back and watched it again just because I'm a bit of a masochist and a glutton for punishment. And that was kind of the weird thing about it. We've talked about the need to play complementary football. And, special teams did well enough in that game. There were a couple things they didn't do great.
It wasn't great.
Minnesota could have ran for a first down on that initial punt they had. They didn't, thankfully. There was a punt return that we tried to make and went backwards. There we returned a ball from the 5 and only made it to the 17. But at that point, I think that was just special teams trying to spark something. But the rest of the game, you make your field goals. Those are good things. You punt the ball down to the 2, and you hope your defense is going to be able to pin them down there and flip the field. And, that doesn't happen. So I can't really criticize special teams play. And then when I, went back and just kind of watched the game for what it was, knowing the result, I don't even think the defense was that bad. Because one of the things we talked about was how Minnesota starts slow in a lot of their games, and they did. Their first drive was a 3-and-out. Then their next one, I think they had about 6 plays and punted. They had 1 touchdown, then they had another 3-and-out, and then another punt. I mean, they had 7 points in the first half of the game. I mean, I think if you'd have told anybody, Minnesota is going to have 7 points at halftime and well into the third quarter, hey, that's great. But, and special teams had done their part at that point. But what happened to the offense? It was just never quite there. Yet they'd have a drive that would sort of look good and sputter out. They'd have a sack or, something would just go awry. And,
they weren't flat. They were a dent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were a crevasse, if you will.
A crevasse.
Yeah,
I like
and that was and that's really what killed the game, is just the fact the offense could never seem to get anything going. And you knew it was pretty well done when Minnesota went on that 14-play drive for 100 yards, and we followed that up with a 3-and-out. It's just good Lord, what are you doing to your defense at that point? I mean, you're not even getting a first down or two so they could rest. That's what killed it for them.
Yeah.
That offensive game plan, I still don't understand it.
I'm with you. It was so predictable this time. Like, this game felt so predictable. I feel like every drive I could have told you what we were going to do. And I think we did talk about it in our chat, is like, you're going to run the ball on first down, and then you're going to probably get sacked. But then you're going to run the ball on the first down, and then you're going to throw. What? And it was just like, well, of course that's going to happen. Like, at some point, their defense isn't stupid. I mean, I know they go to Minnesota, but I'm sorry. But like, at some point, they're going to be able to pick up on that pattern. If I can pick up on that pattern and I'm just watching it on TV, surely somebody who's getting paid a lot more is going to be like, hey, I bet I know what they're going to do here. And it turns out they knew, and we couldn't. I've seen so many tweets and people on Reddit and all of this who are just like, well, this isn't Dana's offense. Why not? Why isn't this Dana's? Like, why? And nobody has a reason other than vague conspiracies that we need to make the Raiola family happy, or I don't know, Rule won't let him run his own offense. I don't know.
I don't think that would even, Dana's been feeding that line to the media, so the Tim Brandos of the world will say that on air. It is not the run and shoot, air raid type thing that he ran at Oklahoma State and West Virginia. Now the world's evolved since then, right? So in that sense, it's not his offense, right? But I mean, he is calling the plays, and whether he took a large chunk of Satterfield's offense and slimmed it down and whatnot, that's a whole nother story. But whoever's offense it is, he needs to call the plays to execute drives, and that surely wasn't the case on Friday night. But I guess I would like to I don't want to make excuses, but this show and many others probably identified this as a potential pitfall. in betting terms, it's a spot game, right? You go to the East Coast, you play Maryland, and you come back and you're got a second road game on a Friday night against a program that knows you really well and has seemed to have had your number. And honestly, I'm not surprised we lost at all. I'm surprised on how poorly we played, because it was even worse than expected. But I'm not surprised we lost, because I'm like, this is just a bad spot. And they showed up, and it felt like for some reason, Rule alluded to it in that video, Abby. I mean, like, they felt like they should have, I guess, rolled over Minnesota just because they got ranked 25th. They're in no spot to think they're that good, for goodness sakes. I mean, even the fan base needs to stop thinking like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, why do we think we're going to go and beat Minnesota easily in Minneapolis? We haven't done it in feels like a decade. What? I mean, we're not there yet, guys, right? And the fact that maybe some of the players weren't really ready for that. I don't know if the coaching staff felt like, because to your point, Abby, it wasn't a very creative game plan offensively. And we knew what Minnesota was going to do defensively. We should have been able to focus on stopping their run, but they were able to run the ball on us. So like I overall, from everyone, from Matt Rule on down, it was a poor performance, right? So what's going to happen though, right? Last year we went 5-1 to start the season, and before you know it, we were like, oh my God, are we going to be bowl eligible? Well, this week is the opportunity to change the story, right? This can be a blip on the radar, and you can bounce back and beat Northwestern and then be ready for a really exciting primetime night game against USC and see where that goes. Or we can crumble and fall here, and before you know it, we'll be looking at 5-5. So, the only chance to change it is to play again, and that's what happens on Saturday morning, right? So, I mean, I think we just have to, as a fan base, look at how do they react out of this situation.
Well, I schedule a tattoo for Saturday morning, and so I'll get to experience hopefully only one type of pain at once, not two types of pain. So, yeah, and no, to somebody who asked me on Twitter, no, it is not a Matt Rule tattoo. Like, no, it is not. So, yeah.
So would you say Northwestern's a must-win then, Dave? I mean, is this the key game?
I don't like that
season?
term. I hate that term because I don't know. I mean, but it would be. I
like the way you put it. Prove it game, Dave. I like how you said it was a prove it game. Yeah.
I mean, it makes the season that much better. I mean, to get to 6-2, you're already bowl eligible. You finally check that box nice and early in the season, and you turn your attention to winning games and building out a record, right? I mean, like, look, we can go 10-2, 9-3, or we could be 6-6 here. So, like,
look, I mean,
but the only way to win more games is to win the next one, right?
You go down the Big Ten.
What does must win mean? I don't know what that means. I mean, like, so yeah,
every game is must win. But you go down like the standings in the Big Ten. There are so many 5-2 teams right now. Like, I mean, and we're sitting here like sky is falling, and there's like Minnesota's 5-2, and USC is 5-2, and Penn State is terrible, and like right. I mean, like all of these teams, like we're sitting here after one bad loss, saying the sky is falling, and the fact of the matter is like we're still in this. Like if we win out, the sky's a possibility, right? I mean, and there's a good possibility that if they come in here in Northwestern and get some confidence back, we got back-to-back home games. We play USC on a Saturday night in Nebraska, one of the greatest football fan scenes in the history of the world, I'll call it. I mean, that there is nothing like a night game in Lincoln. All right. There really isn't. I'm not being biased there. I have been to a lot of sporting events in a lot of different places in my lifetime, and there is nothing like a Saturday night game in Lincoln, Nebraska. That there just isn't. I mean, the crowd itself gets into it, the noise, even it. What's that?
Will be the night after Halloween. So I mean, like, you have a bunch of people in costumes. They're all black, Rob. I mean,
let's go.
You're gonna be hallucinating,
Yeah, I know. It'll be like, back in college. Yeah. Dave, I've told you those stories, all right? You promised you wouldn't bring them up on the show.
Nothing.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Dave, what you mentioned.
Okay. Go ahead,
Abby.
Yeah.
Thanks, Thanks, Dave. I like what you mentioned about like we were at this point last year, and I was thinking about that of like almost exactly at this point last year,
Yes.
right? Like we were ranked going into that Indiana away game, and we wore our all whites, and we got embarrassed, completely embarrassed on the field. And then and we were 5-1, right, going into that game because we kept thinking one more game. It's all we need is one more game. And then who did we played Ohio State next, and came out with our hair on fire and came out playing man versus man, 1-versus-1 football against Ohio State, best team in the nation last year, if you go off how they ended the season, and played them close. So this is the opportunity. We want to talk about like breaking curses and all of this, like all this stuff that we have to break. This is your chance. This is your chance to come off that embarrassing road loss in our whites after being ranked and undoing it and winning a game convincingly. So I think this is something, if in my mind, if we're going to call this a must win, I don't think it's a must win for us fans. I think it's almost for the psyche of this team has to be a must win for them. I think they have to prove who they are coming into this next game. Of are they the team that doesn't take teams seriously and rolls over and can't take a huge sucker punch, right? Because they did, and get back, or can they? Are they going to get up off the mat and keep going? And I think this, so to me, I don't want to say it's like a must win because I'm with you. I don't like that term. I don't think that I think that puts a lot of expectations on games that don't need to be there. But I think for the good of the players and their like belief in themselves, I think this is a game they have to come out and just be ready, firing on every cylinder.
We can call it an identity game. How's that? Like in theme with the show, right? Who are we? That I think that will show their true identity. Abby, I agree with you 100%. Must win is like, I don't know. At this team, at this point in this team, we shouldn't have must win games. So we should go out and give 110% in every game and learn to be ourselves, and then win a bunch of games. Maybe not go 1-5 to end the season last year. So I mean, let's do it.
Well, do you think, Abby, you said this isn't a must win for the fan base? I mean, what would have this fan base with a loss?
Is.
I mean, that would be bad.
Oh,
I'm not saying I want to see that, but good grief. Yeah.
No, I get what you mean. I just, in my mind, like it's more, I think it's similar to what I said about like that press conference where like, I think a lot of what Matt said in that press conference, well, yes, it's there to like, okay, we let the fans know how I feel and I'm letting the media know I'm being candid, all of this. But I actually think more of that press conference was directed to the team. And so when I say it's like more for them, that's what I think. Like, I think that this has to be a game where like we as fans have no control over what happens. They have all the control. And so I guess that's kind of where I'm thinking about it more of like, yes, we as fans for our like well-being and life on Twitter and like livers, I don't know, need this to be a win. But I think almost like the team needs it for the bigger picture and for like the rest of the season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you're saying there, Abby, in the sense that I feel like the win is like, I get it, Boomer, what you're saying, but like, and the fan base would be livid if we lost to Northwestern, but like, it's not impossible to lose to Northwestern with it, come back and beat USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa, and finish 9-3. So if that would happen, was the Northwestern game a must win? Probably not, because 9-3 sounds pretty good, and we beat a bunch of teams that we would be like, that's a good win, right? We beat USC, Penn State, Iowa. I'd be like, yeah, that's good. Man, we should have beat Northwestern. What if, right? But so like, what's a must win, right? But like, the reality is that if we can't beat Northwestern at home, it seems like it'll be even harder to beat USC at home, right? So like from that perspective, we need to draw a line in the sand here and say like, hey, is this going to be a season where we win 8, 9, 10 games, or is it going to be 6-6 or 7-5? And if you're going to play out that game, you want to win this game, absolutely. So yeah, I get it. I just like the must win thing just is overplayed because again, there's There's 5 games left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. So, what are the keys to the game this week at Northwestern? Have you
Yes.
looked at it
I
much?
can't do
Have you
math.
studied? Yeah, can't do math. So, okay. So,
Yeah. Preston
yeah.
Preston Stone. Is this guy a soap opera star or the starting quarterback for the Northwestern Wildcats?
Yeah, he was on All My Children for several seasons. So, yeah. Dr. Preston Stone, I believe. So, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, I think, just from what I've seen of Northwestern, particularly this last week, they've been able to run the ball, which concerns me a little bit, especially considering Minnesota hadn't been good at it for several games in a row. Granted, Minnesota got their running back, this week's, and he performed, pretty serviceably in that game. But again, so that's a big key, is our defense going to be able to stop the run? Because Northwestern's going to try to run the ball because that's what they do. So that's a big issue in this game. And I think, the other thing, just kind of perusing Northwestern and what I've seen of them, they're a very disciplined team. They do not get, they're one of the least penalized teams in college football as well. I think they're 6th in fewest penalties. They average like 3 a game. So, that's a big difference too. So, they're going to be a disciplined team. They're, seem to be pretty well coached, and they're, performing quite a bit better than I thought they would this season, especially as they started, losing to Tulane big. So, this will be an interesting test for Nebraska, I think. Will we be able to stop the run? This will be a good barometer going forward. And then is our offense going to be able to get any kind of semblance back on track? What sort of game? What game do you expect to be called this week? We've always heard we want Emmett Johnson to get the ball more. We've heard that for how many games now, and it doesn't seem to happen. Is that actually going to happen
get
this
the ball
week?
enough, he produces a lot of yards.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Is that actually going to happen this week? Do you expect that, or do you expect to see more of what we've seen the last couple of weeks? What is your guess?
Well, 2 weeks ago, he had 179 yards or whatever like that,
Right.
and 20 carries. It was last week he didn't get the ball enough, right? We also just didn't have enough plays in general. So yeah, I would think you would think that they would try to reestablish that run game early and often. And you'd like to think that they would carry through, but the proof will be in the pudding, right? And we haven't seen that always, right? So I don't know. We'll find out. Defensively, I was quite surprised on how much Minnesota had success with crossing routes and some coverage where we normally are really stuck to those receivers like glue. And I don't know what was really going on there. I'll be intrigued to see. I would think that our secondary matches up well with Northwestern and could make it very difficult for Preston Stone to have a big day through the air. So that then the question is, like, how do we adjust to actually stop what they want to do, which is the run, right? And that's where my concern is, because that we just talked about the offensive line. I don't know if I have a lot of trust in that defensive line either.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Just win, baby.
Well, that would help. Yeah, and I think, and I was kind of struck by something like Butler said in his presser today. He commented, about how Rule had said we were running a vanilla defense, and he didn't care for that. And I wasn't sure what to make of his comment that he was kind of, I don't know if he used the word shaken or what it was, by the one big run Minnesota had in the first half. And then he changed his defense for whatever reason because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of that statement. What he said today. It was one play, but why would you go away from it if it was working? Why would you suddenly be shaken from one play and change what you were doing? I don't quite understand. What he was getting out of that comment.
It's a great question, and it'd be great, to have Honky on for this one, right? But it seems like to me, he's probably saying that, schematically, they felt like they might be vulnerable for that run again unless they changed something, right? Like it was an X's and O's thing where, the Minnesota OC kind of won on that chess match, right? So like he had to fundamentally change some things up that would have altered the scheme. It's a great question, Boomer. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is a good week, I think, where questions have to be answered. It meant, I guess, like you said, Dave, it's not a must-win. You won't know a game is a must-win until the season's probably over, looking at it in retrospect. But I think this is the weekend that'll answer a whole lot of questions of what this team is and what that identity is. We'll be able to say, okay, this is really what Nebraska is. You've had these tendencies, you've had these trends. We're 8 games into it now this weekend, and this is going to tell you really what you are this season and kind of where you've been headed. So,
Yeah,
I guess this will be the game that answers that question. What's our identity?
That's the name of the show.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, we tied it all
Hopefully
together.
it's a good
See, we are
answer.
podcast professionals here.
Are you?
Now I
Full
get it.
circle. We did it.
Are
We don't even need you, Honky. Oh, actually, no, please, Honky, come back.
That's a
Please come
story
back.
arc
Don't
right
make me
there,
responsible
folks.
for this ever again.
That's right. All right, guys. Is there anything else we want to chat about as we nearly approach the hour?
No. I
No?
think we said 1 hour tonight. We're
don't have
sticking it to 1
anything.
hour, aren't we?
All right. Are we ready for some parting
We are a
shots?
tight hour here, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, just in time for some
parting shots.
parting shots. I did it.
Let's get Abby going first because she's so excited. And no,
My parting
You don't
shot
wanna
is
start?
please, Honky, don't ever leave us again.
All right.
Honky can never leave this podcast. He just
That's Abby. Is that your parting shot that Honky can't leave? All right.
It's my
That's
parting
good.
shot.
That's good. All right, Rob. How about your parting shot?
Well, after some self-reflection this week and realizing that, in my world, the sky's going to fall whether the Huskers win or lose at this point, with just, how busy life can be at this point. Quite frankly, you know what? I have faith that this team can turn it around. I have faith that they will turn it around this week at home. I would say, everyone keeps saying that Rule looked angry. I felt like he looked more annoyed than anything. I think that's kind of how I felt too. I was just annoyed with the way that the team came out looking so flat. And I would say that, Rule had the exact same face on that I had all week, which was just kind of like, they can't do this again. And I think we just need to have faith that he is going to get this turned around starting on Saturday. I'll be listening on the radio. I hope those of you that can't watch the game are also listening on the radio with me. And I will be getting inked and just kind of relaxing and trying to find my zen. And hopefully the Huskers do too.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Boomer, get us out of here.
Okay, well, I don't have a ton either. It's just, maybe it's not a must-win game, but gosh darn, it feels important this weekend, and so we'll see what happens at 11 a.m. kickoff. If you're going to the game, at least, go out and be exciting. They're going to need that energy, I think. Hopefully it'll help. And, I just kind of want to give a shout-out to, the entire broadcast of the game. It was fun to see, the 1900 Husker team get some love, that came out there. Any fans there? That was the first season we played Minnesota. And, I've commented a bunch of times how in an alternate timeline, Minnesota's was our arch nemesis because they were for the first few decades of this program. And by God, we might be living in that timeline now because they really have turned into our arch nemesis for whatever reason it is. And, I do like Minnesota fans. We've got a good experience with them, got a good rapport with them on Twitter and, some of their podcasting groups there. And the $5 bits of broken chairs, the greatest unrecognized trophy in the Big Ten. So, hopefully someday that'll maybe officially be recognized if the schools ever just drop the corporate end of it. So,
and we can get it back.
Yes, it'd be nice to get it back too. Yeah, that would also be another thing. Keep it here for a while, but
freezing it
either way
off up there in Minnesota. They need to, bring it back.
Absolutely. So.
All right, guys. Well, it was a fun show. I was glad to be able to jump on and vet a little bit with you guys. Let's hopefully turn this around on Saturday. For now, let's call that another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.